Alright, I'm back with a Stellar Blade video, and I'm gonna regret this, aren't I? I wanted to do a video about all the post-launch stuff going on with the game. It's just exhausting and goofy and ridiculous. There are some bright spots, namely that the game reviewed very well. It has an 82, really solid score, especially for a the biggest debut from this publisher. And it has, I just wrote today, it has a 9.1 user score, the third highest on PS5 ever. I think that's gotten a little boost from people rallying to support it, but it's a fun game. I'm not going to begrudge it a high user score. What's happening now is this big controversy over censorship in the game that I think is being misconstrued in a lot of ways, and the plain facts of it are pretty basic, and I think people are just sort of running with this for its own sake and looking for something to be angry about ahead of a larger issue they're trying to make about censorship in video games, which has been this sort of long-running thing about things that are or aren't changed in different regions and things being censored if they're too gory or sexy or whatever. In this case, there is a very, very small bits and pieces of changes that were made to the game. And the main three things that are always brought up are, there's two outfits, that's two of the three. One is this like swimsuit, and then the other is this, I don't even know what to call it. It's pretty much like a wrestling, like wrestling gear. It's just like cut out holes and all this stuff. And a couple other ones that like may or may not have been changed from the trailer, but like those are the two significant ones. The bathing suit one is this controversy where they put a little lace thing here to cover it up a little bit, and then like the cut at the bottom is like a little less revealing. And then I don't even like, you have to use a microscope to even like understand what the added to the other one. I think it's like a little bit of netting or something. I don't know. And then the third thing is that there's this idea that gore was censored or gore was toned down in the game. And that last one is just like straight up not true, or if it is, it's not what people think. People think it was like censored because it was too gory. The game is still plenty gory, especially when it comes to its boss fights. Eve has this animation where she will like split open these monsters in all sorts of ways. Generally speaking, like most places don't really care if you're cutting up like alien monsters. It's more about like butchering humans and things like that. Like, yes, that is classified differently. People are saying things were changed from the demo, and there's this like series of screenshots there's not really even series. There's like one screenshot making a comparison between Eve being like being covered in a little more blood than this other screenshot. This may be due to two things. Like, one is that this is only showing up on like the skin suit version of Eve, which may be more of a texture thing. And then there's the idea that like performance versus quality mode may have, some different blood texture effects that show up on one and don't show up on the other. I just went on YouTube. I found a boss fight using like the default outfit, that exact scene. And then I found one from launch, that exact scene, that exact frame. They're identical. They're identical. So whatever happened here is not like they toned down the gore. It's likely like either a skin-based issue or a technical thing. It's not remotely like something got censored there. You can play the game if you've played the game, which a lot of people have not gotten past, the demo part if they're playing it at all. Lots of gore in these boss fights. In moment-to-moment fights, there's not, you can dismember some things and whatever, but like Eve doesn't get like coated in blood. Like, it's not really that type of game. It's just these sort of boss cutscenes or like executions that things get pretty bloody, and they do. Like, the game opens with this like girl's arm being cut off, and like you can see a cross section of her arm. Like, that's not censored. As for the outfits, on the disc, so reviewers had the same type of outfits as the day one patch that went out. Those were not changed. There is the bathing suit outfit specifically, I think, maybe one or two of the other ones, maybe one, is still on the disc, the original one. So if you you have to like take your game offline and like not apply any of the patches, and you will see the old bathing suit one that's like 4% more revealing. So that was on the disc, and that did get patched as an update. However, there's this idea that like this was censored in some way by some outside force, and this doesn't really make sense in a few ways. Like the CEO of Stellar Blade, who's like speaks openly about how much he loves creating like beautiful, sexy characters, and is like oh, I did this for sex appeal and that, and he's asked about like the censorship, and he's saying like this is the version of the outfit we wanted to give you, but he's like, oh, we hear you, we're consulting and whatever, but he says this is the version of the outfit that we wanted. And if something is on the disc, like if the original disc went to certification through Sony and was seen by Sony, it's not Sony censoring this or demanding it be censored. And if you've played the game, there are probably at least a dozen outfits that are more revealing, and like more revealing in the specific areas of her body that were censored. So it would not really make any amount of sense for that to be censored. And people have brought up that like, oh, there's sex scenes in Baldur's Gate and nudity and Last of Us, and like, yeah, that's true, but I there's no evidence at all that Sony like demanded this one specific swimsuit be censored. And this has turned into this whole thing where any amount of censorship is, anathema to the philosophy of the game, and people are interpreting something that Stellar Blade said and Shift Up said that guys kind of got them in trouble now, where they had this big promotion of, we're releasing Stellar Blade uncensored, like in all regions. And that was a reference to, usually with different regions, you may have to like cut something or censor something in regards to like sexual content or gore. And specifically, it seemed like they were really focused on Japan, because he says like, even in Japan, it's not censored. And that means it passed, the ratings board without them having to change anything. But the fact that there is this difference between the disc and the final release has all these people saying, oh, it was censored. It was definitely censored. And at worst, it's like Shift Up themselves being like, we like this version of this outfit more than this version. And you could say that's self-censoring, but like this is a company that wants to make like these overtly sexualized characters, like has no issue doing that. So why would they bother with that unless it was just an aesthetic design choice that they wanted? This has resulted in a whole movement of this. I fully expect to get lots of downvotes here, lots of comments about how I'm so pro censorship and I'm simping for Sony, and I like it's been a whole thing. Like tweeting about this is a nightmare. Making this video is a bad idea because it's gonna attract the same crowd. But like, it's just such like a nothing burger. It's not only is the actual content of what was quote censored like extremely minimal in the face of a dozen, 2 dozen of these very revealing outfits and jiggle physics and all this stuff. But it like the narrative that like Sony censored this stuff is not provable, does not seem real given what's on the disc, given the statements that Shift Up has made. This idea that gore was censored is just not a thing. That just didn't happen, but that's being spread, far and wide that is part of the censorship thing. And there's petitions to free Stellar Blade. Like, I'm not even gonna talk about him, capital H. Like that dude is just thrives on attention. Like that he's making it all about him, and like it's so ridiculous. Like the whole movement is spearheaded in that way. This sort of self-glorification. Despite all this, I bet you they're going to revert the costumes, especially the one that's causing the most controversy. Again, Shift Up is a company that really, really likes making these, sexy outfits, wants to have a sexy main character. So if they see enough complaints that people are saying that this outfit isn't sexy enough, I think they're going to kind of divorce themselves from like the nature of this and like, them being accused. I think they're just going to be like, oh, okay, sure, we'll change it back. Like, we love sexy things. Like, why not? I feel like that's going to be the ultimate answer here. The problem being like they're going to take this as like some huge win that like they conquered, woke Sony censorship and stuff, and just these totally invented narratives that are not based in reality. It's just so weird that this has like become such a thing. Like it should have just been Stellar Blade was released, it got really good reviews from the press that was like supposed to hate it. And it got really high user scores. It's a fun game. It's definitely a fun game. I'm on my second playthrough right now. I'm on New Game Plus. I think they did a great job adding some good stuff in New Game Plus. And like the fact that people are going like out of their way to play the unpatched on disc version for like one outfit in the name of censorship, when like if you don't patch the game, you're gonna have like worse hit registration, which was patched. You're gonna miss the entire New Game Plus mode. Like it's just so ridiculous at a level that like I can't even comprehend. Like, don't do that to yourself. Just play the game normally. Just move past all this. That's what's been happening. I don't know what else to say at this point. I think we are going to end up probably seeing a reversion of these outfits and them celebrating this big win that they did it and they freed Stellar Blade until the next thing they maybe find in the game that they need to get mad about again. Just play the game. Just take the win. It's a good game. Like it's probably going to get a sequel. I'm assuming it's selling pretty well. This is certainly a great debut from this company. The end, man. Just let it be the end. So that's sort of the summary of the last week since launch here. I've been playing it in between, doing Destiny grinding and doing my second playthrough here. It's fun. I recommend the game. Like the end. All right. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.